Hello everyone, welcome back. It's February 6th, 2022. It's a beautiful day outside, and I thought I would talk a little bit about something that you might not think about. I've been walking around kind of taking a look. We just had a very heavy snowfall, and one of the things that's become apparent is we have some rabbit damage. So here's the guilty party hopping around on our security camera, coming right up on our deck. Here he is, sort of hanging out. Now notice his placement on top of the snow. I often don't really think a whole lot about rabbit damage, to be honest with you, because most of the fruit trees and things are up out of the way where they can't really get to them, and I sort of net in the garden. But after a big snowstorm like we've had over the past week, you can see here I've snowblowed some paths through the yard to get around. What that does is it all of a sudden brings the ground up, in this case about 2.5, 3 feet. And so what was once 3 feet in the air is now 6 inches in the air. And now you got a problem. So I'm going to show you some of the damage that I found today as I was walking around, because this is something that I never really thought of. I don't know, maybe we just were lucky in the past because we do get a lot of snow here. But you can see how deep it is. So I'm going to work my way over here to our Kids Orange Red tree. Now this is also near our roof, but look at all of the rabbit droppings everywhere. That's a bad sign. When you see that, that means they've been feeding in that area. And take a look at the absolute carnage on the lower branches of this tree. I mean, it looks like someone just came through with shears and just chop, chop, chop everywhere. And so this is something that, all of a sudden the rabbit would never be able to reach these in normal conditions. But now the ground has sort of come up to meet the tree, so to speak. So as you're walking around your yard, if you see rabbit droppings, you know that's where they're eating. So look at that. That's actually a nice clean cut right there. Not happy to see it though, obviously. But what they want is those nice fat apple blossom buds, the fruit buds. They like those plump buds. That's what they're going for. And so they just come in and they just will eat every single one they can find. So those lower branches, I may end up just pruning some of them off. Obviously the rest of the tree's fine, unless we get another 3 or 4 feet of snow, which you never know this winter. But so making the problem worse, we have our roof right there. A lot of that snow comes right off the roof, piles up, and just makes it even deeper. So not only do we have a couple feet of snow, but then it's on top of it from our roof. But just gross. Look at that. So if you're ever walking around your yard and you see that, that's what's going on. A lot of people will think that was deer or something, like, oh, that must have been deer who came through. A lot of times it's rabbits, especially if all the damage is down low like this. And of course they leave their calling card all over the ground. That makes it easy to see too. So what we're going to do is dig the snow away from the tree here, basically lower the ground, and that way they can't get up to it. But there's just something to think about. If you have a heavy snow, things that used to be safely out of reach are no longer safely out of reach. Speaking of that, here's some burning bush damage. So these are about 3.5 feet tall. There's about 2.5 feet of snow here, and the bunnies just came in and absolutely wiped this out. I mean, you can see anytime you see that kind of damage like that, that's almost always a rabbit. And deer are my mortal enemy, so they're the ones I pay the most attention to, and I think the rabbit sort of snuck in on me a little bit here. You can see it not only as calling cards there, but also the rabbit tracks getting in there. But rabbits, if you don't watch out for them, they can cause a lot of damage very quickly, particularly when you get a big snowfall, as I mentioned. One thing that's kind of neat, look over here, here's our pear area of the orchard, and not a single rabbit track anywhere. So the rabbits are all over our yard, backyard, front yard, side yard, but they don't go anywhere near the pear trees. And it's interesting, I usually spray the entire orchard and pretty much everything in the yard with that liquid fence deer spray, which is why we're doing a project this summer to just fence in the rest of the yard and be done with it. Not going to help with rabbits, but for deer. But it's interesting that neither rabbits or deer really tend to go near the pears. Certainly not complaining, or our pawpaws back there. Now, pawpaws, this is an Asian pear here that you're looking at, but in this area behind by the shed where some pawpaws, they have a natural built-in defense that's sort of like a chemical inside the tree that when the animal bites it once or twice, it doesn't want to come back. So here's the solution to the problem. Basically what you have to do is get the snow out of there so that it's closer to ground level where the animal will be. And so when I did that, I took about 2 feet of snow out of here. And so it's not going to undo the damage like that's been done. But at least what it's going to do is make it so the rabbit can't come back tonight and get whatever's left. It would have been at his disposal. It's about waist high, so there's quite a bit there. So just something to think about, what normally would be out of reach for rabbits and safe. It's like a 10-foot tall branch, probably safe from a deer, until you build a platform for the deer to walk on that's 6 feet high, is sort of an analogy. So thank you for watching. As I mentioned, if you did have a lot of snow, check out your bushes and your trees, especially young trees. Our trees are old enough that it's not really going to matter all that much, but on a young tree, they could take your entire graft off, and that would be a real bummer. So again, thank you, and we'll see you again soon.